Thanks everybody for attending and taking a little time to learn about AgeTech as we see it and about a new initiative that we're planning to launch soon. So let me see if I can advance here. Again, I am Rick Robinson. I'm VP of Startup Engagement. You've also got Sasha Spellman, who is Director of Startup Collaboration, and Ariel Cabby-Spicer, who's Advisor Startup Collaboration. We're the team focused on what we're going to be talking about here, particularly something we're referring to as the AgeTech Collaborative. So a question might be, what do you do? Well, we are the Innovation Labs. We are part of the AARP Innovation Labs, where we work with a lot of startups. And essentially, we aspire, as you can see here, we aspire to become the recognized leader in AgeTech, creating kind of a flywheel for products and services that empower people to choose how they live as they age. So it's a lot about empowerment and about how you, going through your life, not just over 50, but your entire life, how can you use technology to improve your life as it is and going forward? But you might ask, what is AgeTech? And a lot of people might have different definitions for this. How we're defining it is the following, and I'll read it just for those who may not be able to see the screen well. We define AgeTech as the growing category of technology solutions created for the unique needs of the 50+ audience. And I also add on to there, and their families who are supportive of folks who are over 50. Sitting at the intersection of longevity and technology, AgeTech includes business to consumer, B2C and B2B products, services, and experiences that contribute to a longer, healthier, and happier lifespan. So why AgeTech? Why do we care? Well, a lot of reasons. One is it's enormous. This sector is huge, and it's kind of been overlooked, the fact that it is so big. It's really it's an $8 trillion economy in and of itself. And by 2050, which is what, less than 30 years away, it's going to be a $28 trillion economy. And that's owing to a lot of things. People are living longer because of the way the population is. The over 65, as you can see here, is growing much faster than other parts of the population. And interesting factoid, for example, in the next 2 days, 20,000 people in the U.S. will turn 65. So it's a huge market, and it's growing tremendously. And it's not really mentioned here, but this segment is also a large population of people with a considerable amount of money to spend. And they're looking for products and services to help them live active lives. And often they're not finding them. They're just not there. Or they're finding products that are, frankly, a little bit disrespectful or talking down to them. So part of what we're doing with capturing AgeTech is to work with a variety of folks in the AgeTech ecosystem to create and provide more modern, more dynamic products and solutions for this sector. Okay, so what is AgeTech not? What you're seeing here is some images that might come to mind for a lot of people, and frankly, people I come across. And it's an education for them to understand this is not true. At the very least, it's outdated. So we don't buy it. People 50 and over are very savvy with technology, particularly coming out of COVID-19, where a lot of people advance their use of a variety of kinds of technology. And here's an example. This slide, it's a bit of an eye chart, so I won't go through it in detail, but essentially it's saying the red is the growth in 2020, and the gray is 2019 of usage of applications of those 50 and over. And you can see there's been pretty significant growth just in the year. And that's somewhat, like I said, owing to COVID causing people to be a bit more socially isolated and then utilizing technology to live their lives. And you can see there in the middle, shopping jumped from 34% to 54%. So what this is saying is, contrary to what some people might have in mind around people 50 plus and utilizing technology, it's simply not true. And these numbers are only accelerating. So more on that, more and more people over 50 are relying on technology. Again, if you look in sort of the darker pink there to the left, these are people who strongly agree that they rely on technology on a day-to-day basis. And if you look at the top one, I'll point out 18 to 49, it's 60%, and 50 plus, it's 48. Not much of a difference. So the gap between those who, for instance, in my world, working with startups in the past, targeting in some ways, generally speaking, a younger audience, that's not a smart strategy anymore. So the data is bearing that out. Another example on the left there, 18 to 49 usage, and then 50 plus usage of the certain apps. We can argue over, whether we like Facebook or not, but the facts are the facts. And there is enormous usage of the 50 plus in these products. There's an interesting point I should point out as well. There was some research done in 2018 that essentially articulates that the average successful startup founder is 45. And that's the average. That means there's lots of founders who are 50 plus and much older. So it's something that not a lot of people are aware of. But this is also part of the overall story, which is more experienced people starting companies and becoming founders, and frankly, have a better chance of success than some younger founders. So I'd like to talk about our approach to AgeTech. And to do that, I'm going to hand that over to my colleague, Sasha.
Great. Thank you, Rick. So really quickly, I'll talk about our approach to AgeTech, where we play, what we do as a team, and then also get into some of our startup solutions as examples. So here you can see where we play, and this is at AARP. We are aligning with the overall enterprise strategy to really serve our members and the overall 50 plus demographic. So you can see here that we focus on 3 different areas. To keep it simple, we like to term it health, wealth, and self. But listed here is health security, financial resilience, and social connections. And then we also do recognize that we have disparities and age discrimination kind of run horizontally across all 3 of these areas as well. Underneath each of health, wealth, and self, we do also focus on things like caregiving, social isolation, fun and fulfillment, and more. We can go to the next slide. And this is kind of speaks to what we do on our team at AARP Innovation Labs. Number 1, we're discovering the best and the brightest age tech startups. We have an amazing programming team who helped bring us here today, but they are also acting as those that are identifying and engaging with early stage age tech startups through a number of events that I'll talk about in just a second. We also have a startup engagement team, which is where the 3 of us sit on, that collaborates and brings expertise, resources, and tools to really work with our startups at the ground level to help them be successful. And then we also have a design thinking team. So they take a human-centered approach to innovation and do that through a number of design sprints to help problem solve for both internal purposes, but also externally help provide solution development, again, really focus on human-centered design development. You want to go to the next slide. So that, again, this goes back to our discovery and sourcing of AgeTech startups. So in order for companies to potentially be eligible to work with us within AERP Innovation Labs, they have to first participate in a pitch competition or a challenge that we host throughout the year. You're welcome to see all the events that we have available today at our website, aerpinnovationlabs.org. We do work with a number of collaborators on these events, like you see a few listed here: CTA Foundation, Mary Furlong and Associates, to run these challenges that are, again, themed based off of those social strategic impact areas, like a caregiving themed challenge or a fun and fulfillment themed challenge. So definitely check these out. This is the #1 way to first get involved as a startup or as a company with AERP Innovation Labs. And how we help these AgeTech companies succeed. So we have a portfolio management team that works on the mentorship and advisement part of helping our companies tackle discrete challenges and really refine their solutions to target and serve the 50+ audience. We have experts in marketing, UX, UI design that will help our companies really thrive and grow within, we do 8-week cohorts. And we'll do 4 of those throughout the year. There's also co-creation opportunities. We're blessed to have team members with a product development background that help our startups, not every startup, but with some companies where we see a mutually beneficial opportunity to collaborate and potentially create a new product with clear market potential. For collaboration, we're going to talk about the AgeTech Collaborative in just a second, but we are curating connections across the ecosystem to help our companies connect with the investment community, test beds for piloting, and then also larger corporations. And then we also do provide investment for some of our early stage startups, really to just help support them and fund for market fit and overall growth. You can go to the next slide. This is just a quick snapshot of just some of the startups in our portfolio. We actually have close to 45 companies at the moment, might be closer to 50 because we have a cohort graduating at the moment. But we are, again, working continuously throughout the year with AgeTech startups. We're going to be slated to end with close to 60 companies by the end of 2021. And this will, again, continue to grow as we work with companies throughout the year. And then I'm going to talk about a few of our AgeTech portfolio companies. So first, let's talk about, again, the health security bucket that I was mentioning earlier. The first company you see here is a company called VoiceIt. They are a speech recognition application for people with speech disabilities or impairments. They have a machine learning technology that will identify and learn your unique speech. And through their modeling, their voice recognition technology actually improves every time that you use it. So their device can actually connect with an Alexa or smart home device to help the individual have more control and make your home more accessible with just the use of your voice. A company called Mighty Health, they are an at-home workout application specifically designed for people over 50. And it includes digital exercise, nutrition, and overall wellness, again, for that 50+ demographic. And then the last one here, Zibrio, is an interesting one. They're a smart scale that detects fall prevention. And it was actually originally invented for astronauts on the moon, but recognized what the opportunities were within the 50+ age range. So they pivoted, and how it works is you basically stand on the scale for 60 seconds. And within that time frame, the device will measure your fall risk from a score of 1 to 10. And will predict if you could fall down within the next 12 months, and has accompanying software that will guide you on improving your score and things you can do to help have better balance throughout your life. And then here's some caregiving related technologies. So as I mentioned, caregiving is a really important focus at AERP. 1 in 5 Americans are caregivers, and 61% of those caregivers continue to work and receive no additional pay for the care that they're providing. So it is something that we are focusing on. I'll just point out one of these for more detail. TELUS in the bottom right-hand corner, they are looking to improve elder care to help individuals age in place with dignity and privacy. So their solution essentially monitors and analyzes the health of a person without the use of any sort of wearables or video cameras. The device that you see listed on the slide will plug into a wall and can track your movement using LiDAR technology. Go to the next slide. This will just speak to some of those startups in the social connection space. 43% of seniors report feeling lonely on a regular basis. And there's actually a recent study that found that social isolation and loneliness could be more damaging to one's health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So certainly something that's very important for us to look at finding solutions for. We have Rendeavor, who does virtual reality solution for senior living communities. And through the power of virtual reality will help take people to places that they may not be able to do, especially during times like COVID. And then we have right underneath that, a company called Own Practice, who's been working with us for a couple years now. They provide live interactive yoga classes to help those that may experience barriers geographically, economically, or more. And so they have a network of teachers that are specifically designed to help stress management during high times of stress. If you want to go to the next slide, I just have one more slide on startups, and I'll talk about OhmCare in the top left-hand corner. They are a remote care, video connection, and medication dispensing device all in one. So they're a digital health company that aims to change the way the world cares by extending the reach of caregivers through providing, again, that connection through this device. Their goal is to help increase medication adherence and improve treatment outcomes through the power of this interactive video technology. So there's a lot more companies, definitely recommend you check out more. And then I'm going to pass the baton over to my colleague Ariel to talk about the future of AgeTech.
Great, thank you so much, Sasha. So as the startup engagement team, we are launching a new platform called the AgeTech Collaborative, and we see this as the future of AgeTech. And this is a B2B community platform online connecting leading AgeTech startups coming out of our cohort program, as well as the investment community, enterprises, and test beds interested in providing pilot opportunities to our startups. So again, we have our startups, they're coming out of our accelerator program in cohorts throughout the year. And through this platform, they can access funding, learn about opportunities to pilot their products, as well as access discounted products and services being offered exclusively to the startups in our portfolio, and also access corporate collaborations. Investors, by joining the AgeTech Collaborative, get access to some of the most disruptive AgeTech solutions coming out of our startups, which we are sourcing throughout the year. So we have several investors that have already joined and more joining every day. Industry leaders are joining the AgeTech Collaborative to elevate their brand and expand their reach by collaborating with our startups as well as the AARP Innovation Labs. They're attending events held through the AgeTech Collaborative throughout the year that are exclusive to the participants who have joined. Next, we have business services. So business services are organizations that have signed on to the AgeTech Collaborative in order to provide discounted products or services to our startups. And these business services, you can see an example here is McDermott, Will & Emery, but an example of a business service would be a law firm interested in providing discounted IP consulting to our startups. So our goal here is to give business services access to a growing portfolio of startups while also giving startups access to discounted products and services. And then lastly, we have our test beds here. So test beds are organizations with access to different aspects of the 50 plus population interested in giving their clients exclusive access to emerging innovative age tech solutions that are maybe not widely available on the market, while also giving startups the opportunity to pilot those products and test for product market fit. So that is our new platform, the AgeTech Collaborative, and thank you all so much for your time. Rick, did you have something to add there?
Yes, thank you everybody for attending and hearing about our approach to AgeTech, how we're defining it and how we're approaching it. And if you find some of this interesting, if you're a startup or if you're an investor or anybody who might feel like they're part of the AgeTech ecosystem, please feel free to reach out at agetechcollaborative.org. Again, I should have put that on the slide, but it's agetechcollaborative.org. And I think there might be some questions here. So what stage does ARP invest in? It's obviously early stage. It's generally pre-Series A, but sometimes Series A companies as well. It's in the range of, if you've got under 5 to 10 million in investment and under 500,000 in revenue, sort of rules of thumb that we're looking at. Let's see what else. ARP make market data available for building market entry. Yes, if you were to go on to ARP website, arp.org, and excuse me, search on research, there's reams of research reports that are generated year-round, I should say, by ARP, and there's much of it is available to the public. So if there's something specific in mind, you can reach out to one of us and we can maybe help you out with that if you can't find it. Any other questions? Type them in the chat room. We can see about making the slides available. Yep. But I should tell you that most of what you're seeing here is also articulated quite well at agetechcollaborative.org. Any other questions? Feel free to type them in the chat.
I see one more question just went into the chat of, does ARP do product testing or validation?
So in the Innovation Lab, the way we work is we very upstream, we run pitch competitions all through the year on a variety of different themes. And that gives us an opportunity to find early stage great startups who either are already have a market fit in our segment or are trying to, and we bring them into our accelerator program throughout the year. We're going to be running them next year, probably 4 throughout the year, and then we'll have some others in between. We bring them in groups of between 6 and maybe up to 12 companies simultaneously, and we work with them in a variety of ways to help get them much more ready to deliver their product or service to our market. And as far as testing and validation, we actually have in the AgeTech Collaborative test bed organizations. Army Distaff Foundation is one as an example. These are test beds who are willing to take our startups' products and test them in their environment with their consumers. So the answer is yes. Oh, how about creating and refining distribution? Absolutely. So again, if I step back to our accelerator program, as part of that, when startups come into our program, we work with them to understand what are the key things that you need. And often it's, well, we need to do research and we don't have the money to do it, or we don't have the ability to do it, or we can't reach that age group and do it properly. So we definitely help people with that. Distribution channels. What we don't do is say, hey, here's access to our nearly 40 million members. That's not something that we're allowed to do, but we definitely understand how to reach this audience through a variety of means, and we help our startups do that in, like I said, a variety of ways. So distribution channels, not necessarily specifically taking your product and helping you distribute it to our members, but understanding where to market it and how to market it and position it and so on. Absolutely. It's like Bharat raised a hand. Oh, do we need mentors?
Yeah, Brett, you
know,
might
we
be able to
don't.
unmute yourself if you're raising your hand to ask a question, maybe.
Yeah, this is Bharat Ramani here. Can I ask you the question?
Sure.
Yeah, I am working with a lot of startups in the neurodiversity community. So I'm a venture studio focused on supporting startups which build solutions to improve the quality of life for the people on the neurodiverse spectrum. So, this for this community, the challenges are much more than normal community. So, are you looking at specifically working and doing something for this community as they grow older? Because the population in this space, in US we have total population is about 5 million in this category, and I don't know how much are the age, maybe a couple of million people in this who are above 50. So I think there's a huge opportunity to work together and do something for this community.
Yes. So just so I have it clear, were you saying you were working in the accessibility community? I didn't quite
No,
hear that.
I am a venture studio, just like what you're doing in the accelerator space. It's like a venture studio, but focused only on solutions for the neurodiverse community. And I was talking to you about, are you doing something in this space, or have you got any startups in this category?
Yeah, so we have startups, and you can go ahead and look when you have a chance. We have most of them in our listed in the AgeTech Collaborative marketing site. So you can see all that we have in the portfolio currently, but we definitely do work with and look to work with companies who are in areas that you're speaking about. And if it's something, it sounds like maybe there's something that you might want to talk with us about offline. Is there something possibly we could do together? So if that's the case, we maybe Bharat can talk about that separately.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I will get in touch with you on LinkedIn, and then we can start from there.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Maisha. How are you guys doing? I just have
Hi,
a quick
Maisha.
question. So I have a startup in the long-term care space and aging space. It's and interested. I know a lot. It seems like a lot of the startups you guys have invested in are around independence and caregiving. Like keeping seniors at home with caregivers. Is there also an interest in supporting solutions around long-term care, particularly because 70% of those who reach the age of 65 will need some form of long-term care at some point?
Yeah, so that's a kind of a broad question. If you're talking about looking at and investing in solutions
Yes.
that, that put technology not in place of caregivers, but in support of caregivers, or in places where, in past caregivers might have filled a role. And as we all know, going forward, caregivers are becoming fewer and further
Yeah.
between. So in my opinion, one of the key ways to overcome that problem is with technology. So yes, absolutely. We're working with companies now who are trying to develop ways to create kind of, and what I refer to as an ambient awareness of, let's say, somebody's home. So if it's my mother, as an example, she could, thrive in her home where normally she might need to have a caregiver at least coming in on a regular basis. With technology, a lot of that can be solved without a human actually being there as often, whether it's through remote monitoring, as well as alarm systems to indicate something is wrong, or the ability for, again, my mother to simply call out a request, and again, using a variety of different solutions, some of which we're already working with, to be able to connect with somebody. That kind of technology, I definitely am very bullish on. We are as well in the lab, and looking to work with those kinds of companies in the AgeTech Collaborative. It's not one company going to solve it all. A number of companies have different point solutions, but bringing them all together to a holistic approach is something that we're very interested in.
Yeah, my technology, I built a platform that allows people to book long-term care stays, to search and book and do all the intake processes to move into a long-term care space for the continuum of care from independent living to memory care. And I'll be expanding into home health, in addition to adding care coordination capability on the app, and messaging providers, and on the provider side, allowing them to list their facilities, provide details, because there has been research around a large percentage of those 50 plus said that they would feel comfortable making long-term care decisions if there was enough information. And I'm sure there's not often a lot of information online. So trying to put the information in a place that's easily accessible and allow providers an opportunity to simplify their intake processes and digitize that, because in the long-term care space, they're experiencing workforce shortages. It's a really, really difficult industry in terms of, and occupancy challenges now, pre-COVID, but definitely post-COVID, in the COVID world we're living in now. So really hoping to, have a solution on both sides of the end, helping consumers navigate during a really stressful time, and helping providers navigate or provide a tool that will help them during a really challenging time. So I would love to, if you think that would be somewhat of a fit, I would love to, figure out a way to talk to someone on your team.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I would encourage you to take a look at either ARPinnovationlabs.org, or just go to AgeTechCollaborative.org.
Yep.
And take a look at the, on the events page, we'll be listing out pitch competitions. And that's generally the path to work with us in the Innovation Lab. And it has to do with the fact that we're a nonprofit. So entering a pitch competition, being accepted, you don't have to win to work with us. You just have to go through that process. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. We are continuously updating that with pitches and events that startups can enter. And then, maybe we'll be able to work together in that way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Free just to hop off of mute or put them in the chat. I see we got one question from James. Is there an ecosystem that you encourage folks to join to support AIP and longevity?
Yeah, depending on who you are, the B2B community that we're creating, it is an ecosystem that we're pulling together, and it's called the AgeTech Collaborative. It is not live yet, but if you go to AgeTechCollaborative.org, you'll be able to find out all about it. And that is an ecosystem that you could join. And we're trying to pull together, as I mentioned earlier, everybody who is interested in being part of this ecosystem into one place, into one community, to the benefit of each other, but ultimately to the benefit of startups who are creating great new products for consumers. So I would love to have you.
Thanks, Rick. This is James, who's been asking all these questions. Where I focus a lot, and I've worked with Keith Kamhai at Techstars and mentored some of his groups and whatnot. And But a lot of where I play is probably the next stage up from a startup more to now you've got a proven go to market, but how do you build technology adoption and acceptance and create are you doing anything, kind of to that next level? Because that seems where there's huge need for investment. There's a lot of money going into the startups, but they have very little chance of building that next market presence, except everybody's beating it out by themselves, trying to figure it out by themselves, which seems like not a very efficient way.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, James, for that question. Yeah, to be clear, the accelerator that we run inside the lab is designed to find and bring in startups and work with them at the very early stage that you're talking about, the area that you're not working in, to kind of get them most appropriately ready to serve the market that we're talking about here. The AgeTech Collaborative is intended for those companies to kind of, quote, graduate into, and then continue to get value, whether it's how do I find further fit? How do I find additional investment? Some of the more mature, some of the issues that more mature startups face, we're trying to create this collaborative where people will be able to call on a variety of different kinds of entities and people and companies to support them in that effort. So short answer is yes, the collaborative is intended to fill that need. Now, it's not going to be able to be for everyone. There's scalability questions. But eventually, we want to be able to bring as many startups, but also, again, investors, industry leaders, anybody affecting the AgeTech ecosystem or interested in it, into this collaborative to help one another, so kind of all ships rise.